flashes that Steph has, but see, for me personally, I value elite athleticism over long-range shooting, Monica, right? Like, there's no doubt he's the most entertaining and electrifying player there is in the league because at 6'1", 6'2", even though they have him probably listed a little bit higher, you know he's realistically 6'1", 6'2", a $185. He is fearless and relentless with his ability to attack the rim. And I'm talking about over a 40-inch vertical that can contort his body in the air a variety of different ways and has an uncanny feel and awareness for how to create those shots. I mean, I'll give you a prime example of why I think he's the most entertaining player in the league. Versus the Lakers, that block, I'm watching the game.
Oh, my goodness, stop.
That block,
stop right
Charlie,
there.
I'm watching the game, that block, right? And I stand up out of my seat. I'm holding my 9-month-old son. I stand up out of my seat like, damn, what the hell? And then when you see the freeze frame, right, as hoopers, Monica, you know this. You know how hard it is to jump off 2 feet? His armpits are at the bottom of the backboard, and his 2 hands are above the 90-degree angle of where the square meets. I have not seen a player of that size do something like that before in every single game. It's 5 or 6 plays where you're literally, your mouth is dropped to the floor. I mean, if I had a chance to see one NBA game the whole year, courtside, one NBA game, I would go see Ja Morant play because that's how I feel about the Memphis Grizzlies, and that's how I feel about him as a player.
I would like to take this moment to ask my bosses at ESPN to please send me to Memphis for a game as a reporter on the broadcast team.
It's a big ask, but a good one.
I'm with you, Jay. I am 100% with you. And I think while Steph is still someone that we love watching, and he's such a tactician, particularly the way that he moves off of the basketball, and the long-range shooting is tremendous. One, we've seen it, and Ja is quite honestly fresh and new. And there is an uncertainty about what he's going to do on both sides of the ball that I don't think that we would apply to Steph's game just yet. Yes, that block was insane. I don't know what kind of sorcery, athleticism, whatever you want to call it, it was. But in general, even if he's not making that type of block, he can defend one-on-one, pick somebody's pocket, get a steal when his team needs it. And so I just think the nature of Ja's game, himself being a highlight, but also even last night, he's given amazing passes. I remember the play, I believe it was in the third quarter, the alley-oop to Kyle Anderson. The way that he makes plays for the remainder of his team and not just what he can do, there's just so many facets in terms of why Ja is must-see TV right now.
And Charlie, I know Golden State played without Draymond Green, but this Memphis team also played without Steven Adams and Dillon Brooks. And we all know Dillon Brooks is an absolute dog defensively and can space the floor.
Okay, so really quick before we move on, I want to ask this, Jay. Russell Westbrook has been referred to as the most athletic point guard in the game, but has Ja Morant taken that place?
I don't know. It's hard for me because there's still a dude that plays for the Chicago Bulls. His name is Zach LaVine, and he's been able to do some things I've never seen done before athleticism-wise. But Ja's definitely in that upper echelon. He's top 3, no doubt about it.
And Monica, what do you say to that?
I'm going to go ahead and do it, Jay and Charlie. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to give it to Ja right now. I think when you look at his body composition, that's what makes him unique. And I'm one who hates in the dunk contest. We give extra points to the smaller guys, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I think when you look at his size and the way that he's able to finish, being guarded by a Russell Westbrook, there's something there. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Ja right now.
All right, yeah, definitely putting the league on notice. And with that loss, the Warriors fall to second in the West behind the Suns. But do you still, Monica, consider the Warriors to be the best team in the league?
I am not in on the Warriors as the best team in the league currently. I still think that the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the league until proven otherwise. You look at what they've been able to do, particularly the other night against Brooklyn without some key players on that roster. You talk about Holiday being unavailable amongst other players. This is an organization. And Jay, remember we had this conversation last year. I said there's something happening in Milwaukee in terms of a squad that is able to just go ho-hum along the train tracks, moving along, getting better every day, perhaps without some of the fanfare and some of the eyeballs. Meanwhile, if you have the opportunity to see that team in person or to talk with the folks around that organization, they're just steadily getting better. And there's still this notion that Giannis has another layer to go. And while Giannis is the focal point, I think you look at all the pieces around that team, particularly the addition of Grayson Allen in the offseason. Obviously, Holiday continues to get better, so does Middleton. And yes, they, like every other team in the league, have battled through some COVID protocols and injuries and such. But I just think there is such a strong identity in terms of what the Bucks do that they are just on the track, moving forward, and they're going to show up and be just as ready as they were last year.
You are talking about the team that lost their last 4 or 5. I know that you did pick the Nets, and that was a big game by Giannis. And yes, they are dealing with issues. But when I look at this question, Monica, are the Warriors still the team to beat? And this is no disrespect to the defending world champions, because we all watched what they did last year. But there's still a major part of people wonder what Brooklyn could have been like if Kevin Durant didn't wear a size 14 as opposed to a 15, right? If James Harden wasn't hindered in that matchup, or if this team had Kyrie when they played, there's a lot of questions around that. Now, I'm not taking anything away from a championship. They won it, fair and square. It was theirs. But when you think about this Warriors team's second best record in the entire league, Draymond Green has been hurt with a calf injury. Klay Thompson coming back. It just feels like this is reminiscent of those reigning championship Warrior teams with the way they play. They have the youth in Jordan Poole, Kuminga. They have the pieces, and the way Steph and Klay coming back, just the way they operate. Andrew Wiggins, even though he didn't play that well last night, the floor spacing, the continuity that they have, it just feels like this is set up for them to be the team that everybody has to start focusing on. Now, I know Milwaukee's there. I know we're not even talking about the Bulls. We're not talking about in Miami. We're not talking about the Nets. Phoenix Suns are a great team as well. It just feels like the team that carries all the energy right now, that has all the momentum, that has the eyes of everybody in the league, is the Golden State Warriors.
Jay, and I agree with you, but I am just waiting for some of the dog days of the NBA season, which are inevitable. Even when you talk about, I hate to use this word because it's Steph, but the mini slump that Steph has been on in terms of shooting, right? And the energy that you wonder, maybe there was that emotional high when Klay returned and perhaps a little bit of a drop off versus Memphis. Not that I think that Memphis did not earn that win, truly, but I wonder if the way that you are talking, the way that I'm talking, the attention that is on this Warrior squad, yes, Klay, Draymond, and Steph been there, done that, have handled it, have navigated it. But I just am a little bit curious to see how those role players continue to evolve. And while the addition of Klay Thompson makes this team better and he has looked tremendous, that is in and of itself is a bit of an adjustment. And so, again, we're parsing hairs here, right? But I just think that, again, similar to what we saw last year, the Bucks are sort of quietly going about their business.
And Monica, you said, though, the Bucks are quietly going about their business.
Quietly,
the question is, who is the team to beat? Did you see Ja Morant last night? Do you finally get the respect?
Nothing quiet about that.
Go check Twitter, right? Like, there's something about Klay Thompson, potentially the second greatest shooter to ever play the game. Stephen Curry breaking the three-point record this season in Madison Square Garden. Draymond Green having his own podcast, talking trash about everybody, saying that we're back. There's something about this team that makes them have a huge target on their back.
Big presence.
Even considering they got bounced last year in the playoff game, in the play-in game by the Memphis Grizzlies. That's why, to me, like, they are the team to beat right now. I'm not saying they're going to be the team to win it, but they're the team to beat right now.
I got you.
And despite being against the dominant Grizzlies last night, Steph Curry did post a triple-double. This is the first season since 2015 he's had multiple triple-doubles in a season. So just imagine he stays on this, on this track record. Klay shakes off all the rust, and Draymond Green comes back healthy. It's going to be tough to see who can beat the Warriors. But you two, sit tight. We're going to bring you back in just a bit because we do have to get to some football right now. So, everyone, it's time to let out a sigh of relief because Giants fans